Okay, so just picking up where we last left off, we had just catalog our image, our WIM file that we recently captured. Um, so now we're going to go down to our task sequence. Um, and you're not going to have these folders deploy like this is something I created, but to have organization, to have structure. And in IT, you do need that, right? That organization and structure. It helps you to automate things. It helps you to keep things on track, keep your projects on task. Um, so here's my Windows 10. I have my one task sequence, and you could create your own task sequence, right? Right click, create a task sequence. You could say new, whatever you give it, a number, a name, give it a name, deploy, Windows 10 prod, right? So, give that something, select, I typically just leave that standard client task sequence, but you can see you could change. And probably if you have the later version of MDT, it will probably be other options here. Again, I am using the MDT version 8443. And again, I think it's 8456 is the latest one right now. Um, so I'm going to leave that. Click next. The following operating system images. So I'm going to select the image. I'm going to say do not specify a product key at this time. You could give something here, give a name. You can see it's required. So I'm just going to copy that from up there. You could set a home page. I typically don't care about these because that's what I do on the 10.xml or some other scripts. I'm going to go here, a Windows password. Um, So specify the local administrator password for this task sequence. Right, I'm going to say do not specify at this time. I'm going to click next. Right, click next, and you're going to see the task sequence has been created. I'm not going to use that one. I just wanted to go through the process of creating one with you, so you see how easy it is. I'm going to go ahead and delete this one because I do not need that one. I already have my task sequence. So I'm going to come over here, double check my task sequence here. It's asking for the operating system. Just make sure I select the new one that I recently created. Right, so now it should be green again. Yep, so you can see I have some custom steps in here that adds like OME information, set a power scheme, um, and add a special account um, if it's a home theater PC. So if you're watching movies from the PC, right, you need it to be logged in automatically. Probably need the screensaver to be disabled, something like that. Um, Default apps association. So what's your default browser? Is it Google Chrome, Firefox, VLC player, yada, yada, yada. That's kind of what it does there. And here are, other custom, you know, apps that are installing. So it's asking, is this a D20, or is this a Dell? No, this is Lenovo, IBM Lenovo. This is an IBM Lenovo D20 with the NVIDIA graphics card. If so, and how do I know? It goes by this query, this WMI query. It looks for this model. Um, and because I only have one here in my home environment, um, it searches for that model. If it finds that model, it installs that graphics card driver. If I was deploying a Dell E6300, and again, how would I know? I come over here, I find the model where equals latitude E6300. not E63, 6330, E6330. Um, find that model. If you find it, install this Intel graphics driver. Um, these you could say for your post imaging app. So like with my previous employer, we were using PDQ deploy. So that's where I'll put all of this. I'll take it out of MDT um, and put it in PDQ because I just want MDT to deploy the basic standard apps, um, some of the standard drivers. And then once the post imaging was completed, um, I'll now go in and do the final update to get everything completed. All right, so that part is there. Where I want to go now is the OS info. That's the important of that catalog file. So I'm going to save just to make sure everything works out. All right, so everything is looking good. I need to edit something in the OBB shell setup. So auto log on. I need to edit something here. So I am going to have to unfortunately pause and then come back because there's a password in here. All right, one moment. Okay, so I'm back. So I had to remove the password. So I just something else that I forgot to do, and that's the great thing about the checkpoints, right? You could always go back to that last save location where you did the checkpoints. So something I forgot to do was to change my password there. Change my user account password. So the default administrator, when I boot into audit mode, it was just log in with the standard administrator account with no password. So I forgot to set the password there before I captured it. So it captured without that password. Um, so I had to go ahead and update my task sequence because I used a previous task sequence which had a password. So I had to remove that value. Um, and then my customize INI file, custom settings INI file, I had to update that as well. So just in case you guys don't know what I'm talking about, you already saw me edit in the unattended.xml file here in my task sequence. So the customize that INI file, typically that's in your deploy share in the control folder. So custom settings, right? These are those two files that I'm talking about. Um, your bootstrap INI typically um, connects you to the MDT deployment server as well as the user account that's going to be used to log into that server. That's typically what's in the bootstrap, that INI. In your custom settings, that INI, you could set up, you could have different computer names per location. So let's say you have a location in Argentina and a location in the US and a location in Mexico, right? In there, you could have your customized INI file and you'll have a different probably computer naming convention for the computers in the US and Mexico. That way, if you see them in the AD in your forest, you could tell where they're geographically located. Um, and for MDT to automatically point to that server, because you wouldn't want your MDT server in Argentina to image your computer in Mexico or the US, right? You want it to be because it's going to saturate your bandwidth. Um, you want it to be a device that's local to the area. So that's what your customized settings, that INI file. I'm not going to open it because I have sensitive information in there, but research it. You'll see there's a lot of customization you could do to that custom settings, that INI, to automate a lot of those manual tasks, right? Um, Maybe you want it to point to a certain OU. If I add a if if you detect this particular gateway, this computer goes to this OU, right? Something along that line. So those are the two files that I was talking about, and that's what I just edited inside MDT by right-clicking, go to Properties, and you go to Rules, and then here you could see some of my custom settings, but I'm not going to scroll down because again, it has sensitive information. So you can see here's a location for US, right? Here's the default gateway. So if you detect this default gateway, um, then use these information. Put the computer in this particular OU. Here's the computer location name. Here's the language, the keyboard. All of that is automated. The time zone, right? And also the log location. Okay. Um, and then the edit bootstrap, again, I'm not going to open it because it has sensitive information, but this is my a part of my custom settings, that INI. So I'm going to cancel here. All right, so I think we are ready um, to test our Windows deployment. So two things I realized I didn't do. I didn't double check to make sure the IFA-V tools were not installed on the VM before I capture it. Most likely it's not there, um, but I could double check. And also, again, I just mentioned it, I forgot to change the password on the administrator account. So that should probably be something, if had I not gone into audit mode, I would have had to create an account with a password. So that step I would have done had I not gone into audit mode. But when you go into audit mode, that's one of the things you have to remember is to set that admin password. Okay. All right. So we're ready for the deployment. I'm actually going to do a test here. That way you see it and see how it works. And appreciate the MDT deployment. So thanks for sticking with me here through the entire process. I think we're doing good on time. So I'm going to go ahead and let's go back to my Hyper-V here. We're going to create a VM. I'm going to keep this one simple. I'm going to say Windows 10 Hyper-V Big V tests. Okay, keep the store location, generation 2. Let's give it 2048. Don't care much about performance on it. And should not need more than 20. So this is just a test. Right, so that's creating that test VM. We're gonna go up here, we're gonna edit it as usual. This time we're going to boot from the network adapter, so you're gonna see how it works there. On the hard drive, that's good. Let's do 2. How's the performance going here? Yep, we're doing good on the CPU. All right, hard drive is good. Don't need that DVD drive. All right. Now, I actually have a WDS set up. So on my MDT server, the WDS role is also installed. So here in my WDS, I have my MDT image, and the MDT image is just go to properties. Can you see it? My MDT image is just the WEM file that's located here. So you go to your main MDT folder, boot, right? And it's just this file here, your light touch.wim file. And again, I have my generic WinPE, so I could boot to it to get to the C drive if it's not encrypted. I could reset the admin password and, yada, yada, yada. Again, if the C drive is not encrypted or the disk is not encrypted. So um, here in my WDS environment, you can see I have my boot image, my Mdt boot image, which I just showed you in that folder. I have my generic WinPE, and I also have Paragon. Right, this is a disk utility, so it allows a partitioning utility. Um, if I need that functionality, you can see I changed the priority when I added them. So that means when MDT is booting up, this is going to be first, this is going to be second, and obviously this, I don't care where this lies. It's most likely going to be at the bottom. It's not going to be first, it's not going to be second, it's going to be last. I don't really care much about that. Haven't used it in a while. So that's my WDS environment. So here we go. We're now going to get started with that. I'm going to connect. I'm going to power on. And again, it's going to hit my WDS/Pixie. Once it hits it, I'm going to press, it says press enter. So here I am pressing enter. You can see it's doing my light touch pe.x64.wim, right? That same file that I showed you. So it's going to boot into my MDT. And you can see like that background there, like a Walking Dead background. I don't know why I use it. It freaks me out at times. Um, all right, so it's booting up. All right, so you probably don't notice, but it skipped a few windows. If in your MDT environment, you'll probably have to click on next and all those other options that are you could basically skip and automate. So I could put that in the comments if you guys need. But again, just if you're working with MDT, it's so much powerful. I could have automated this. I did not have to stop here because I only have one task sequence. I could have put that in my custom settings, that INI file. And I could have also, select the next screen that you're going to see here and have that completely automated and go forward. Um, but I just wanted to show you how my setup is because I need these parts to be manual because sometimes, um, you know, I I do other things. I don't just image my computers, right? So I need to have that flexibility. That's why these two screens are here. Otherwise, it would have been a full automation. You boot into MDT, it logs into the share, it select the task sequence automatically, it pushes the image, added the drivers, and all the way until you're ready to log into the PC to continue. But you can do that. Just want to let you know. So I'm going to select the task sequence. Here you can see it added the username that it's going to use to add the computer to the domain if needed. But I'm not going to join this one to the domain. I'm going to join it to a work group. You can see here it pulled over the naming convention that I wanted, AKS, then W because it's not a laptop. So anything that's not a laptop, it will give it a W. Um, and then it tries to pick the first 7 or the last 7 of that serial number. So that's what you're seeing here. It tries to use this as the computer name. Let's put a K in there. Let's go with that name. Right, so I'm going to say next, and it's going to start to deploy. You can see it's using the UEFI partitioning and not the BIOS, the older partitioning. So it's using the UEFI partition. It's copying the scripts. It run the inject drivers. It didn't find any drivers for this model. So now it's going to install the Windows 10 image. Right? So I'll go ahead and pause. You can see right now it's at 2%. This part is probably going to go pretty quick. Hasn't failed as yet, which is a good thing. So again, I'm gonna go ahead and pause so you can and come back when it's finished. All right. Okay. So it just rebooted, so I'm not sure what time I paused the video, but it's now 11:51 a.m. So when I go back and watch this, I should see how long it took. So 11:51 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can see it just come out of that the light touch WinPE deployment cycle. So now it's going through the boot up phase for the first time. So you're gonna see what that is like. The, the cool thing with MDT as well, if I was watching this from my MDT server, I could come over here to the monitoring and I should be able to see. So you can see here it is. I put the K if you remember. Um, so look at it. That's actually pretty good. It's showing the time, elapsed time, 4 minutes so far. 4 minutes and counting, right? So 5 minutes. So pretty good deployment. What do you say? Um, and it's almost finished. So it's getting ready. And while that's doing that, I'm actually going to um, load up this desktop here so we could have that image at the same time. Hopefully I don't lose this video because I'm going to switch monitor input, but let's see. Okay, hopefully still recording. I'm going to power on my gaming computer here and get that process going. Okay, we're booting from Pixie. Okay, F12. And booting from the MDT. Light Touch PE X64. Okay, loading into WinPE. Light Touch. There's my Walking Dead looking background. Okay, sorry you guys are not able to see this, but it's the same step that I'm performing here that I did on the VM environment just now. So I'm going to click next, and this name, AKSW. Let's see what the name is gonna be. Okay. Yeah, let's put it on the domain, get it in, get it over with, because that's where it's gonna go after all. All right, next, and it is going. So if I now switch back monitor input, oops. Okay, everything is almost ready. If I switch back monitor input and I go to my MDT and I refresh, now we should be seeing that other computer that I'm imaging. So here it is. You see us going through the configuration step. The first one is going on 8 minutes, still running. You can see now my um, my gaming desktop is doing the install operating system step. So that's pretty good. Um, and I didn't touch on my MDT setup much, because that wasn't the point of this video. Um, but you can see I have different model computers here. So this is my Lenovo, this is Latitude, Inspiron, Dell, and the gaming computer that I purchased yesterday. So a lot of drivers that you're seeing here. Um, but it's only going to take the ones that's applicable to the system. It's not going to have deploy all of them. So it's going to go through it, and whichever one is applicable, it will add it to the system. And I typically update the drivers post imaging. But anyway, let's go back to monitoring, see where we're at. So 9 minutes still running. Let's go over to my VM. Perfect. You can see it logged in automatically. So you see what I was talking about with that. It logged in with no password. So just be very mindful of that. That if you do deploy images like this, to either disable that admin account or set a password on it, right? Set a password on that account or disable it. I'm going to say no here. You can see it's continuing the um, final step in the imaging process. So far, so good. So you can see it kept our customization, right? Do you remember we had disabled um, that Cortana um, and the search bar, right? You can see it kept it. I think I unpinned these, but it brought them back. It completed successfully with no errors. That's what all IT likes to see. This window, I could skip as well, but I choose to leave it up. You're going to see here, once I click finish, it's going to restart automatically. Um, so I could have skipped that windows. I kept it up for troubleshooting purposes. I want to see if there's any errors, something I should be aware of, because sometimes when you skip those windows, you don't notice those errors. So it's very important, right? That's why you test, have a backup, and go from there.